The galaxy, as wide and expansive as it is, holds countless species, each vying for power, resources, and dominance. But among them, there is one species that has intrigued the Galactic Council as of late. They call themselves humans, and the Council refers to them mockingly as the BIPEDS. In the Grand Council chambers of the VL-NAR, a race of advanced, telepathic beings, the most powerful empire in the galaxy, the topic of conversation has turned toward these curious creatures from a small blue planet called Earth. The BIPEDS. One counselor sneered. How do they even manage to survive? Weak bones, fragile skin, and only 2 legs. We should have subjugated them centuries ago. The room was filled with nods of agreement. The VL-NAR prided themselves on their advanced technology, their vast fleets, and their unparalleled psychic abilities. For millennia, they had conquered worlds, enslaved species, and maintained order across their expansive territory. The notion that these humans could pose any form of threat was laughable. And yet, began a more serious voice, they've begun to show progress. They've created machines that can travel beyond their atmosphere, and their weapons. Crude but increasingly dangerous. A brief silence fell over the chamber. It wasn't concern, but a recognition that these BIPEDS, though small and seemingly insignificant, were progressing at an alarming rate. Faster than any species the VL-NAR had encountered before. Still, another counselor said, dismissing the idea, progress means nothing without the power to back it up. They're primitive, emotional, divided. We've seen what they've done to their own planet: wars, destruction, chaos. They'll destroy themselves before they ever reach us. A few moments of laughter rippled through the chamber. The VL-NAR had witnessed species like these before, quick to rise but quicker to fall. Yet, a small but growing faction within the Council began to watch Earth more closely. There was something different about these BIPEDS, something that the VL-NAR couldn't quite put their finger on. As the debate continued, a massive screen displayed images from Earth. The BIPEDS were evolving, their technology growing more sophisticated. The humans had just launched their first ships into space, still primitive in comparison to the VL-NAR fleet, but progress nonetheless. They had no psychic abilities, no natural weapons like claws or fangs. Their bodies were fragile and susceptible to injury, but their resilience was undeniable. One counselor, seemingly uninterested in the debate, whispered to another, "Why are we even discussing this? They're an amusement at best, not a threat. Let them crawl across their little planet. They'll be nothing more than a footnote in history." But there was something the VL-NAR didn't understand. Humans were different, not in their strength or their technology, but in their adaptability. Their greatest power was their ability to rise from adversity, to learn from failure, and to unite when the odds were against them. This fact, however, was lost on the VL-NAR. Their pride and arrogance blinded them to what was coming. For the VL-NAR, humanity was a small, insignificant dot in the vastness of the galaxy, nothing more than entertainment for a powerful empire that had conquered countless worlds. Let them build their ships, the counselor concluded, standing from his seat. When they become too bold, we'll remind them of their place. The meeting adjourned, and the VL-NAR Council remained unaware that this small planet, this species they barely regarded, would soon challenge everything they thought they knew about power, dominance, and survival. The BIPEDS would not be so easily subdued. But for now, the VL-NAR watched, amused and confident in their superiority. They had no idea what was coming, while the VL-NAR Council dismissed humanity, seeing them as nothing more than weak, primitive BIPEDS. Events on Earth began to unfold in ways no alien species could have anticipated. The moment the humans detected the presence of an alien fleet in the outer reaches of their solar system, everything changed. It started innocently enough. A group of scientists at a deep space observatory detected strange anomalies. At first, they thought it was just a cosmic event, a quasar or some celestial object causing interference. But the patterns were too deliberate, too controlled. Soon, military intelligence was involved, and within days, the world's leaders were brought together in secret. "We've intercepted signals," Commander said Dr. Singh, a renowned physicist. "It's not from Earth. We've confirmed this is extraterrestrial." In the darkened room, faces from all across the globe stared at the screen. For centuries, humanity had pondered whether it was alone in the universe. The answer was now clear. They were not. The leaders of Earth's nations knew immediately that this would change everything. Rivalries between countries were set aside as humanity collectively focused on a single, unifying fact: they were not prepared for what was coming. "We don't know their intentions," one general said, "but we need to assume the worst. They're watching us. We've detected them, and that means they're far more advanced than we are." At that moment, something shifted. Unlike the Velnar, who thrived on arrogance and power, humanity thrived on something else: adaptability. They had faced countless adversities in their short history: natural disasters, wars, disease, and each time they had overcome, often at great cost. But with every challenge, they grew stronger, smarter, and more determined. "We've been here before," President Akintola of Nigeria said, her voice steady and resolute. "Not aliens, but the unknown, the dangerous. It's in our nature to survive." In the following weeks, scientists, engineers, military leaders, and strategists worked tirelessly. The world, once divided, found itself united in the face of a common, existential threat. What they lacked in technology, they made up for with creativity and sheer willpower. Teams began to reverse engineer the faint traces of alien signals they had intercepted. They worked around the clock, decrypting codes and analyzing the patterns. In their simplicity, the humans found brilliance. Using their collective knowledge, they made breakthroughs that would have taken decades under normal circumstances. "They're watching us," one scientist said during a strategy meeting. "That means they're trying to understand us, which means we still have the element of surprise. We need to use that." The leaders of Earth agreed. They could not match the Velnar in raw firepower or technology, but they could do something no other species had done: they could outthink them. The military worked swiftly, mobilizing fleets of ships and building defenses that could, at least, give them a fighting chance. Human scientists pushed the limits of their understanding of physics and engineering, creating weapons and defenses that hadn't been thought possible just months prior. Their willingness to experiment, to take risks, allowed them to close the gap between themselves and the Velnar, if only slightly. But it wasn't just technology that gave humanity an edge. It was their resilience and adaptability, honed over centuries of hardship. When the Velnar looked at humans, they saw division and chaos, but beneath the surface was something the aliens didn't expect: unity. Faced with an existential threat, humans were capable of setting aside differences, working together as one species, united in a common cause. "We're more than just a collection of countries," said General Matthews of the United States during a global military summit. "We're human, and no matter what's coming, we face it together across the world." Governments poured their resources into preparing for the coming battle. Scientists shared information across borders. Defense contractors from rival nations collaborated to create new technologies, and even the most unlikely of alliances were formed. It was humanity's defining trait. When faced with an insurmountable challenge, they would fight back, no matter the odds. Even more remarkable was how quickly they adapted. What took the Velnar centuries to perfect, humans were developing in mere months. There was something about them, an intangible quality, a refusal to be beaten. While the Velnar relied on their technological superiority, humans relied on their creativity and their ability to learn and grow from adversity. In secret bunkers and high-tech laboratories, the most brilliant minds on Earth developed strategies, weapons, and defenses. They studied everything about the aliens, what little they could decipher from the intercepted signals, and built countermeasures. The Velnar may have dismissed them as weak and primitive, but humanity was preparing for war in ways the aliens couldn't anticipate. The humans' greatest strength was their unpredictability. Unlike the Velnar, who relied on centuries-old tactics and overwhelming firepower, humanity was willing to experiment, to take risks, to innovate. They created new technologies, combined them with old ones, and weaponized their ingenuity. But beyond the science and the strategy, there was one element that no alien species could ever fully understand: human spirit. It was the stories of survival, the tales of those who had fought through impossible odds and emerged victorious, that fueled their determination. From the ashes of past conflicts, natural disasters, and human-made catastrophes, humanity had always found a way to rise again. As one leader said during a meeting of global heads of state, "We've been underestimated before. Every time we've proven our strength. This will be no different." Earth, once fractured by internal conflicts and competing interests, had transformed. It had become a single, united front, a force that would not be easily conquered. The Velnar, for all their technological superiority, had made one fatal mistake: they underestimated the BIPEDS. As the alien fleet hovered on the edges of the solar system, the humans prepared. The Velnar thought it would be an easy conquest, a simple exercise of their might against a primitive race. But what they didn't know was that humanity, with its boundless creativity, resilience, and unity, was about to show them what it truly meant to fight for survival. The Velnar fleet approached Earth with the arrogance of a species that had never known defeat. Their ships were massive, sleek, and bristling with weapons that had reduced countless planets to submission. From the command bridge of the lead ship, Velnar Admiral Ka-Reth surveyed the blue and green world below with a mixture of contempt and amusement. "Primitive," he muttered. "This should be over before the next cycle." The Velnar, with their psychic abilities and superior technology, had long dominated the galaxy. To them, the humans were just another species to be conquered, a minor annoyance at best. The humans had no advanced weaponry, no fleets that could rival the might of the Velnar armada, and no apparent strategy that could pose a real threat. The BIPEDS had been amusing, but now it was time to remind them of their place. The fleet moved into Earth's orbit, their massive vessels casting shadows over the planet. The plan was simple: a swift strike to cripple any form of resistance, followed by subjugation. It was a plan they had enacted hundreds of times before on countless worlds. The Velnar were confident this would be no different. But as the alien ships settled into position, something unexpected happened. "Admiral," a young Velnar officer called out, confusion evident in her voice. "We're detecting energy surges from the surface. Multiple locations. It's not their level of technology." "I don't understand," Ka-Reth frowned. "Explain." "They've developed something new. Our scans show energy readings similar to our own weapons technology. But that's impossible. They didn't have anything like this last time we checked." The Admiral's eyes narrowed as he turned his attention to the planet below. How could they have adapted so quickly, he muttered to himself. It doesn't matter. They'll fall like the rest with a flick of his hand. Ka-Reth signaled the fleet to initiate the attack. Plasma cannons powered up, ready to unleash their devastating energy on Earth's defenses. The Vel-Nar were certain that their superior firepower would crush any resistance. But the humans were ready. On the ground, in hidden bunkers and fortified military bases, humanity's counterattack began. Months of preparation, secretive technological advancements, and tireless work by the brightest minds on Earth had culminated in this moment. The humans had reverse-engineered the small traces of Vel-Nar technology they had intercepted, and they had done it faster than anyone could have predicted. The first sign of humanity's resilience came when the Vel-Nar plasma bolts, designed to obliterate cities in seconds, were intercepted by massive energy shields that flickered into place across key locations on Earth. These shields, cobbled together from human ingenuity and stolen alien tech, absorbed the Vel-Nar's initial strike. It was a feat that should have been impossible for such a primitive species. "What is this?" Ka-Reth barked. "They have shields." This wasn't in our intelligence reports down on Earth, in command centers scattered across the globe. Humans watched as the Vel-Nar weapons were neutralized. Tension filled the air as military strategists monitored the alien movements on massive screens. They had known that the first strike would come, and they had prepared for it. Phase 1 complete. General Matthews said, his voice calm despite the enormity of the situation. Shields holding, ready for counteroffensive across the planet, human forces sprang into action. The Vel-Nar had superior ships, but humanity had an edge the aliens hadn't anticipated: tactics. Human commanders had spent months analyzing every bit of data they could gather about the Vel-Nar fleet. They knew where the ships would strike and had prepared for every contingency. In the skies above Earth, experimental aircraft streaked toward the Vel-Nar ships. These were not ordinary planes, but newly developed vehicles that combined human engineering with the alien technology they had reverse-engineered. Fast, nimble, and armed with hybrid weaponry, they moved in patterns the Vel-Nar had never encountered before. Engage the enemy, came the order. The Vel-Nar, accustomed to crushing opposition through sheer overwhelming force, found themselves facing a foe that fought back with precision and ingenuity. Human ships, though smaller and less advanced, darted in and out of the Vel-Nar formations, using their planet's atmosphere and gravity to their advantage. They targeted weak points in the alien ship's defenses, exploiting every vulnerability the humans had discovered in their studies. "They're adapting," one Vel-Nar officer reported, panic creeping into her voice. "Their tactics. They're anticipating our movements." Ka-Reth's face darkened. "Impossible. They're nothing more than BIPEDS with toys. Crush them." But it wasn't that simple. Humanity's strength had never been in raw power, but in their ability to outthink, outmaneuver, and outlast their enemies. The Vel-Nar had never faced an enemy that adapted this quickly, that turned its weaknesses into strengths. The humans had taken the limited time they had and used it to develop strategies that the Vel-Nar couldn't predict. In the midst of the battle, one of the smaller Vel-Nar ships, a support vessel, was hit by a concentrated barrage of human weaponry. Its shields flickered, then failed. Moments later, a well-placed missile from a human fighter jet struck its core, causing the ship to explode in a brilliant flash of light. "They've taken down one of our ships," an officer cried out, disbelief coloring his words. For the first time in the history of the Vel-Nar, they were losing ships to a race they had considered beneath them. This was not supposed to happen. The bipeds weren't supposed to fight back like this. They weren't supposed to win. K'Areth, watching the battle unfold in horror, slammed his fist into the control panel. How he growled. How are they doing this? On Earth, cheers erupted in command centers as the first Velnar ship fell. It was a small victory, but a victory nonetheless. Humanity had proven that they could stand against the might of the Velnar. And for the first time, the aliens realized that this wasn't going to be an easy conquest. The battle raged on, with neither side willing to back down. But for every ship the Velnar lost, humanity grew bolder. The aliens, once so confident in their superiority, began to realize that they had underestimated these bipeds in every possible way. As the Velnar fleet began to retreat, battered and bruised, the message was clear: humanity would not be conquered so easily. The bipeds had fought back, and they had won the first battle. The stars above Earth were quieter now, the battle over. The Velnar fleet, once poised to crush humanity with overwhelming force, had retreated, bruised and bloodied, back into the void. Earth, against all odds, had survived its first encounter with an alien species, and in doing so, had defied expectations, both human and alien alike. In the aftermath of the battle, Earth's leaders convened in a secure bunker deep below the surface. The air was thick with the weight of their victory. The screens around them displayed the wreckage of Velnar ships still smoldering in low orbit, a testament to the impossible odds they had overcome. But even as the world celebrated, the mood among the leaders was one of caution. "We've won this battle, President Akintola said, her voice steady. "But make no mistake, this is only the beginning." The room fell silent as everyone acknowledged the truth in her words. Humanity had faced off against a superior force and won. But they knew the Velnar would return. They would come back stronger, angrier, and more determined to put humanity in its place. The Velnar had underestimated them once, but they would not make the same mistake twice. "The Velnar are not used to losing," General Matthews added, his face grim. This wasn't a victory to them, it was an insult. "And we've just painted a target on our entire species across the world." Preparations began immediately. Humanity understood now that they were no longer alone in the universe, and that the galaxy beyond Earth was filled with species far more advanced and far more dangerous than they had ever imagined. But humanity had proven something to itself: they could fight back, and they could win. Now, they needed to prepare for what was to come. "We can't wait for them to return," said Dr. Singh, the physicist who had been instrumental in developing Earth's defenses. "We need to be ready for them, and for whatever else is out there. We've entered the galactic stage, and we can't afford to be unprepared." The months that followed the battle were a time of intense cooperation and unprecedented innovation. Every nation on Earth pooled its resources into the creation of a unified defense initiative. A global coalition tasked with preparing humanity for the next phase of its existence, life in a galaxy teeming with advanced alien species. Scientists and engineers worked day and night, reverse engineering what remained of the Velnar ships and technology that had fallen to Earth during the battle. For the first time in human history, the world's greatest minds were united by a common cause. The race to space had become a race for survival. But as they rebuilt, humanity couldn't help but wonder, what had they just revealed to the galaxy? Earth's victory over the Velnar, a species feared across the stars, would not go unnoticed. Word would spread. Humanity was no longer an insignificant, primitive species confined to its small planet. They had become a force to be reckoned with. In a hidden sector of space, far from Earth, the Velnar Council convened once more. This time, The air was heavy with disbelief and anger. The arrogance they once held had been shattered, replaced with a growing sense of dread. How one counselor asked, his voice trembling with disbelief. How could they have defeated us? Admiral Ka-Reth stood at the center of the chamber, his face dark with shame. He had led the VL-NAR fleet to what he believed would be a swift victory, only to suffer a humiliating defeat at the hands of the very species he had dismissed as weak. He had underestimated the BIPEDS, and now the entire empire was questioning his leadership. "They are not like the others," Ka-Reth said, his voice low. "These BIPEDS, they are unpredictable. They learn quickly. They adapt faster than any species we have encountered. We assumed their lack of technology made them weak, but we were wrong." The counselor closest to Ka-Reth, an older VL-NAR with deep-set eyes, leaned forward, his voice cold. "They humiliated us. They must pay for this insult." The room erupted in agreement. The VL-NAR had built their empire on the premise of dominance, and they could not allow a species like humanity to go unpunished. But there was something more unsettling at play: fear. The VL-NAR, for all their power and arrogance, had been rattled. Humanity had proven that even the most primitive of species could rise up and challenge the galaxy's most powerful empires. Ka-Reth, still standing in the center of the council chamber, spoke again. "We will return. We will bring the full might of our empire and crush these BIPEDS. But we must be careful. They are not to be underestimated again back on Earth." Humanity prepared for the inevitable. They knew the VL-NAR would come back, but they also knew that they were no longer the same species that had been caught off guard months earlier. They were no longer a collection of nations, divided by borders and ideologies. They had become one, united in their purpose. In secret, Earth's brightest scientists worked on new weapons and technologies, pushing the boundaries of what had been thought possible. Using what they had learned from the VL-NAR's technology, they developed new spacecraft capable of traveling beyond the solar system. The first of these ships, named the Dawn, was being prepared for its maiden voyage. Its mission was simple: to explore the galaxy and make contact with other species, to find potential allies or enemies. The victory over the VL-NAR had not only united humanity, but it also given them a sense of purpose. No longer content to be confined to their small corner of the galaxy, they were ready to explore the stars. But they knew they would need more than just technological advancements to survive. They would need allies, they would need to build relationships with other species, and they would need to be ready for the challenges that lay ahead. As the first human crew prepared to board the Dawn, General Matthews addressed the world in a broadcast that was sent out across every nation. "We are no longer alone in the universe," he said. "The galaxy is vast, and it is filled with dangers we can't yet comprehend, but we are ready. We are stronger than we've ever been. And we will face whatever comes next." Together, the VL-NAR had thought they could conquer Earth with ease, but they had failed. Now, humanity stood on the brink of a new era, one where they were no longer the insignificant BIPEDS the galaxy had once ignored. They were something far more powerful. They were survivors, and they were just getting started. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like the video and hit subscribe for more exciting content. Make sure to turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update.